Okay, this fly is one that I've been messing around with for a bit now, and to be honest, it's one of my favorite subsurface patterns to throw at bass. This thing has an undulating action like you won't believe. It's just a great all-around pattern. So what I'm going to do is it starts off with it's just got a regular tube, and then my junction tube. This is a flex tube from Canadian Tube Fly Company, and this is just the regular liner tube. And what I do is I'm going to slide my monster cone on there, and I need to singe that end so that it gets flush against that cone, and then just let that cool. I'm going to go ahead and put my mandrel in here. Okay, and get that set. Now on these, sometimes I'm going to weight them. So on this one I'm actually going to take some 020 lead-free wire, and I'm just going to wrap this first little section behind the cone. And this will also help to shove that cone up into the singed piece of tubing. Okay, we've got our lead. Now this is a very, very easy fly to tie. It really consists of just a few pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in some rabbit strip, and you can vary the colors. This is going to be a green kind of olive pattern, but you can use them black and blue, black and red, chartreuse and white, whatever. The fact is that this thing will plain fish. So okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start my thread just right behind my flex tube. Okay, so the first thing I do is I grab my rabbit tail, and I usually like to make this about double the length of the fly itself. Just tie that in there. Now the next thing is I'm going to grab some just bass skirt material. I get this at fishingskirts.com. Tie that in there. And I want these about the same length as the rabbit strip, maybe a little shorter. So I'm going to cut those like that. Okay, then I'm going to tie in some of this chenille here. This is the polar chenille, the UV polar chenille. And I like to just preen that back as I wrap. Do the first couple of wraps over the top of the bass skirts there. And then just preen as you go. And then to add a little bit of variety, I'm going to add the black. It's the same stuff, it's just in black. Okay, once I got that on, the last step is to put in a dubbing loop. So I'm just going to make my loop here. And for that I'm going to use black Senyo laser yarn. I like this because you can tease it back out across the body, and it helps create a nice translucence. So I'm just creating that loop here. Give it the spin. Now on this one I like to tease the fibers a little bit before I wrap it, and I'll try to tease them in one direction so that when I wrap, these go back against the body like that. And then we just tie that off. And I'm going to whip finish. Now as a final thing here, I usually just like to take the fly and brush that Senyo's laser yarn back over the body. And finally, the other thing that's very important here, and one of the reasons I use tube flies for this type of pattern, is that I can grab this weedless wacky hook, and it's, you just buy these in the bass section. Has this nice built-in weed guard, like so. And now what we can do is we can take our tube fly and simply insert that into the tubing. Now what we have is a virtually, well, it's a 100% weedless fly. And this monster cone gives this some nice vibrations as it goes through the water. And then the tail and the skirt material really shake and shimmy. And I've seen a lot of fish just come out of nowhere to slam this. And you can throw it into the nastiest bushes and weeds. And the reason I call it the Deflectinator is because that monster cone, as you're pulling it through, actually will deflect off of some of the structure that you get. Combine that with the fact that it's a weedless hook that, again, the hook point is kind of behind that deflector shield. This doesn't hang up. You'll very rarely lose flies snagged. So it's a great pattern.